Okay, we are recording. Hi, you guys. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hey. For our Hindsight is 2020 Real Producers Call. I want to first say thank you so much to North American Home Services for sponsoring our call today. Everybody got some fun treats to get to snack away at, and cheers. We are all in different settings, some of us at home and some of us at our offices. Much as the pandemic and this past year has been for us, learning to do business from different places. But kind of the goal of Real Producers is to intersect the personal and the professional. So for us in this industry, it's been kind of fun to peel back the curtain a little bit, see each other's real lives, and then talk shop as the top industry professionals in this real estate market. So that's just what we're doing today. We are gonna just kind of channel the collective wisdom in this room. I'm gonna let you guys go around and introduce yourselves in just a second and let us know who you are, what you do, what your title is. And then after that, I'm gonna prompt you with a couple questions and let you take it away, because really, I feel like there's a lot of wisdom and tips to glean from everybody in this space about how we make our businesses better. And if you come away with one little tidbit from today that you can implement in your personal or professional life, then that's a win, right? So I am going to start over here in the corner with Laura Miller. I just said your name, but can you tell us who you are, what your title is, and something that you're proud of from this past year? We're all about celebrating each other's wins and successes. So just tell us what has gone right for you in this past year.
I'm Laura Miller. I guess that was already stated. A lot went right. I learned to slow down and to take and not worry about chasing after the business. But sorry, my dogs are in the background. But just slow down and take really good care of the business that comes my way. And since we really couldn't chase it as hard, we couldn't host open houses, we couldn't door knock, we couldn't do a lot of the things that we might have formerly done in 2019, I really instead shifted to, I'm a referral-based agent, so being a lot more intentional about those relationships and reaching out and taking good care of them, and it ended up serving me well. That's all I got.
Katie, you're muted.
We don't hear you, you're muted.
Katie, you're muted.
Yep, I was muted. Sorry, guys. All right. Well, what I said, since you can't read my lips, is thank you, Laura. And I'm going to toss it over to Jamie because she's up on the on my other corner. So Jamie, tell us about yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jamie Perose, realtor with Realty One Group in Rockland. 2020 was obviously like a crazy year. So something I'm proud of is just really our ability to adapt. I feel like when the pandemic started, everything shut it down. Our kids are home now, like everything that we knew stopped. So really quickly, we had to learn how to adapt to still work our business, still keep in touch with our people, all while teaching kids at home and dealing with those challenges, dealing with muted, people on Zoom and stuff like that, right? So just adapting to like the new, as cliche and like trigger word as this is, like the new normal of just having kids at home, working from home, and also still growing our businesses, taking good care of our clients. So.
Awesome, thank you. Bob, you want to tell us about yourself? I'm just going to keep going in the order of my screen, so we're just going to hop around.
You're muted.
You're muted, Bob. Sorry, we're gonna get this. There you go.
Okay, I just pulled a Katie. I started talking and being muted, okay? So again, I'm Bob Dean. I'm with M&M Properties. It's a residential property management company, largest in the area, with about 2,000 residential homes that we manage for our investors and third-party owners, if you will. I think reflecting back on 2020, it was obviously a major seismic shift, if you will, with the eviction moratoriums, if you consider the renters. I mean, so we had very little movement of renters, which is okay, because we also had the same hurdles to overcome that you do in terms of tours and showing homes for rental and whatever else. But we adapted, and I think the most proud thing we are is that 96% of our owners are receiving their full revenues in this period of 2020. That may tick up now in the first quarter with some new laws that have come in, but that's been the biggest challenge, and I think one that we've been able to work with our investors and owners for their renters.
Awesome. That is a really big deal. All right, Kristen, you are in the middle of my screen, so take it away.
Great. Hi, I'm Kristen Snedeker. I am broker owner of Legacy Properties, a small boutique brokerage in Roseville. I have 10 agents currently that work for me, and I still very actively work with buyers and sellers. So I have a dual role as broker and realtor, and love my job. I think we have the best job in the world. A lot of things were different about 2020. I'm sure we all agree. You asked us to provide something that we're proud of, an accomplishment. Well, I chose the personal route rather than the business route for this accomplishment. And I wanted to share with everyone that we bought our first Airbnb rental property in 2020 and closed on it right before the world shut down in March. And I thought to myself, oh boy, what did we do? What have we done? And it ended up, with the shift in travel due to the pandemic, ended up being a really good thing in the long run. So just a personal accomplishment that I wanted to share. I have lots to say about the market, things I think have changed and things I think will stay the same going forward, but I think we'll get into that a little later.
Absolutely, yeah, that is awesome. Okay, Jen and Dimitri from North American Home Services, take it away.
Hi guys, my name is Dimitri. This is Jennifer.
Hello.
We're from North American Home Services, your favorite home inspection and pest inspection company. We're actually more than a home and pest inspection company. Our other business is construction. We build new homes. We have a fire restoration department, remodeling. So we're and all those things. As far as the accomplishments, my favorite accomplishment is I had a son born in 2020 in March, and as we went in to give birth, me and my wife both tested positive in the hospital for coronavirus, and it was just like an unknown. It started a very shaky road. We didn't know what to expect, but it all went well. He's a healthy boy. Business went crazy, as you guys know. Things shut down, but pretty quickly we were back on our feet, healthy and going good. And the biggest business accomplishment that we had, I'm really proud of, we came together as a family. Here in North American, there's about 45 of us, and it becomes kind of difficult. Everybody's from a very different background. Some people are scared of coronavirus. Some people don't want to even see anyone with a mask on, and we were able to come together, understand each other, be a family, be accommodating. And I feel like we're stronger and we're more of a family, and we trust each other. And I feel like it was a good thing. It was a challenge that made us stronger. So those are kind of the two accomplishments.
You want to say something, Jen? You want to tell us who you are?
I would say, well, my accomplishment is I joined North American's team. So that was my big accomplishment in 2020. Happy to be working with them. It's a great company. I come with a great background of, I had worked with 2 other termite and pest control companies, and then also I have a real estate background as well. So I work both sides. It's a perfect fit.
By the way, Laura, we love you.
Awesome. All right, Mike, tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Mike Sandoval, broker associate with Remax Gold, and a couple of accomplishments for 2020. I think the number one thing is on the personal side. I was able to connect more with my children. I'm always on the go, and this and that. I'm the sole provider of our income. My wife stays at home with our children. And so I was able to stay at home, and I got to kind of see them grow in that year of 2020. And it's amazing, the small little milestones that they've done, but it's going to be the memory that I take away from 2020. It is more that bonding experience. And now I have a closer relationship. I have a close relationship, but even more closer with my children. So I think that to 2020, that was huge for me. It kind of showed me, hey, I don't necessarily have to work 6 days a week or 7 days a week. And, sometimes I have to pull back a little bit and stay with the family, because sooner or later they're going to be teenagers, and then they're going to want to go to college, and then it's then it's just me and my wife. So, so I think it was a great, it was crazy, but it turned out well for me. So.
That's awesome. I totally agree. My daughter just got her license on Monday, and already I'm like, and you don't live here anymore. So
Right, exactly. Absolutely. Like, yeah, they're gone. So go to the mall.
awesome. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Andrew Vieira. Tell us who you are.
Hi there. So I own and am branch manager of Wealthwise Mortgage Planning and VALoansofCalifornia.com in Folsom. So by our website, we, as any lender, we specialize, we can do everything, but we specialize in the VA home loan benefit. So in the last year, and I've been doing this for a long, long time, but as a specialist, we actually, like a lot of other lenders, broke records last year in the number of loans that we did. And we had surpassed the prior year was a record, and what we did this year for vets was a big, big deal. But I think on a personal level, a big accomplishment for me and my family was none of us ended up coming down with COVID. Even though I have a son who is in the Army, flies helicopters, he was locked down 3 different times because of COVID and quarantined and got sick, but turned out not to be that. My other son is also in Texas, and he's been locked down. He's a software engineer, and actually to the point of the Airbnb, he actually writes software for the back end of Airbnb and those sorts of companies. That's what he does. So my dad's 83. My mom passed away a few years ago. He didn't get COVID. He's got his first shot. So I think just surviving COVID was a big thing. And then the stress test on our business of the massive volume as all the lenders dealt with that happened because of lower interest rates. It caused us to figure out where there was pressure points in our business and fine tune things for us going forward. So thanks for having us here today.
Absolutely. That's awesome. All right. And last but certainly not least, the veteran to our real producer Zoom calls is Lisa. So take it away, Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Perry-Gary. I work for Sotheby's Nick Sadek's office, and I'm part of the Perry-Gary Miller team. My team member is Steve Miller, and we had a certainly colossal record-breaking year this year, which obviously I don't think anyone anticipated that a global pandemic was going to create the craziest real estate market we've ever had. I've been selling real estate for just over 25 years, and I mean, this was bananas. But my own personal accomplishment that I'm the most proud of this year, my 93-year-old grandmother was living completely independently in Auburn, and she fell and broke her hip. And in the midst of COVID, you guys know how that all went with hospitalizations. She was hospitalized alone, went through a pretty big ordeal with it, and came out with significant dementia. So we knew that she wasn't going to be able to return home and live alone, but she had a house that was not really maintained well for 25 years. It was her pride and joy, but she didn't see all that really needed to be redone. So in the midst of the craziest business year we've ever had, I kind of stopped everything and did a complete remodel on her house, bought her another home, relocated her, vacated the house, and then sold the house. So it was a pretty huge endeavor to take on, but I'm happy to say that she was able to be home with family and have 24-hour-a-day caregivers with her. And if we had put her into any kind of care facility, we wouldn't have seen her ever, like from the time she had the surgery. So we knew it was something that I had to do and take care of so we could be with her and she wouldn't be alone. And she is happily relocated about 8 miles from my house. So that was a terrific thing that happened. So that was my biggest accomplishment for sure. Labor of love.
That's really awesome. I saw the pictures of that on Facebook.
Yeah, it was quite a transformation too.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys all for introducing yourselves, for being here. I'm going to just kick it off with posing a question to you guys, and then hopefully you'll all not be shy and jump in with your thoughts and talk amongst yourselves. But really the goal of getting on here is, there's obviously the saying, hindsight is 2020, which plays perfectly for the year that we just had. But if you're looking back at what we all just went through, like what observations do you have about the last year? A lot of it was so in the midst of it, you're just doing what you can do right as everything's hitting you. But now we've got a little bit of time. We've been navigating this. So what did you see occur in the market? What changes and adaptations happened in this industry? And which ones do you think are things that now have really changed the way that the real estate industry will function from here on out? Or what kinds of things do you think were quick fixes and band-aids that maybe will reset themselves and go back to normal, as people say? Just give me your thoughts and don't be shy. Jump on in there and chat amongst yourselves.
I think one of the things in the beginning, I've heard a lot of people using the term bubble, that they perceived that what we're going through right now is a bubble and something that is not going to last. And I have to say, with my own clients, I'm always very conservative about having them jump into a market that really is crazy and seems to be accelerating as far as pricing. And I was very cautious in the beginning of all this and advising people like, maybe this isn't the best time to jump into the market. And fortunately, a few of my clients didn't listen and said, we think it's going to continue to go, and did jump in and now would have been priced out. And I don't think the talk of bubble is accurate, because what this is based on right now is a massive migration to our area and a massive shortage of housing. And when we had all of the building kind of stop in the lending debacle of, kind of those early 2000 years, we just were not building enough housing to keep up with the demand that we have now that's coming into the area. And I think it's solely driven right now by supply and demand. And as long as people continue to migrate to the area, this isn't going to slow. This isn't a bubble per se. There is nothing that is falsely driving this market. It is simply the market law of supply and demand. And as long as we've got the demand with this limited supply, this is going to continue. And the builders, they can't keep up with the demand. There's not enough land. There's not enough projects under development. So I think my cautious nature and conservative nature of kind of talking people away from making some purchases, I'm now definitely going the other direction and telling people, I think they need to jump into it. And I don't know if you guys all feel the same way, or if you're feeling the quote unquote bubble is here, but the demand is huge.
Well, and not only is it a supply and demand issue, I think it's also, it's clearly that it's a huge issue, but I think it's interest rate driven. And Andrew might be able to speak a little bit to that of, all the forecasts that I hear are saying that interest rates are forecasted to remain at record lows for the next 2 years. So I don't see it changing in the future either, Lisa.
So from the interest rate standpoint, yes, I think they will be record lows as long as the Fed continues to buy mortgage-backed securities and treasuries, which is what they're doing and what they've committed to do. We have seen interest rates bounce off the low that they were 2 months ago. And it really started once, and this is not a political statement. I made this comment to somebody, and I thought I was getting political, but when the Republicans lost the Senate in Georgia, it then meant that all three houses, everything was in one party, which meant that everything got to be passed, which creates, all the stimulus can go in and can create inflation, which causes interest rates to go up a little bit. But I agree with Lisa. I gave the analogy to somebody yesterday that if you picture the Bay Area, and I have a lot of clients, as I think everybody does, that are coming from the Bay, we're seeing some depreciation in values in the Bay Area. And it's kind of like if you have a balloon, like those kids' balloons, and you squeeze one side, the other side gets bigger. Well, the Bay Area is squeezing down and our area is getting bigger. And I agree. I don't believe that it's a bubble, but I think those of us who lived through the last downturn, I think it was a natural reaction for all of us to go, hey, wait a second, let's see what this is, and advise our clients that way. Because for people who weren't, you could have been on the lucky side of that and not been cautious, I think. But those of us who lived through it, I can tell you, I was out of business. It was a disaster during that time. And I learned a ton. I feel like somebody who went through the Great Depression, right? Our grandparents went through that and it affected them for the rest of their lives. And I know that affected me. But from the interest rate standpoint, I agree. And I think that, the bubble we saw before was because financing was built on a false foundation. There was no, good underwriting. But this is supply and demand. It's a whole different animal.
Absolutely. So I'll jump in with one other thing that I sort of noticed or had to change in my business and then coach my team as well is we have got to, and this is specifically talking about buyers, working with buyers, more than ever, we have to set very clear expectations with our clients on what it takes to get a home in this market. And I mean, it's always been our job to obviously educate our clients and teach them about the process, let them know what they can expect along the way. But I feel like it's more important now than ever that we really need to be very clear, almost aggressive even, in educating them with best practices for offers and the things that other buyers and agents are doing to get people into homes. So there's full transparency, and it's super important to be efficient and not waste time and just really set those expectations from the start. So that's something that we've been working on. And of course, it is relative. It depends on, it's not true across all price ranges and all areas, but I think by and large, buyers are just having to do things they've never had to do before to get into homes.
And Kristen, to that point, I think it's important to educate them on how to win, but it's also important to educate them on the risks associated with that winning, and that sometimes winning isn't everything, and that we do want to do a good job of protecting our clients. And when we're educating them, say, this is what you may need to do it to get it, to win it, but it's not necessarily the best choice. And maybe this property isn't going to be the property for you. And patience is really a virtue right now. I mean, you might have a buyer that you've written 10 offers for before they get something, and they want to throw in the towel and give up and say, I'm never going to get a house and this is never going to happen. There really is enough housing for everyone, but they do have to be patient and know that if they didn't get the first 4, it's because those were not meant to be their houses. And eventually one will stick and they will get it, and they will so appreciate that you led them in a direction that kept them safe and protected and didn't have them make snap decisions about buying something that maybe had issues or problems in the future.
I'd like to add to that, Lisa and Kristen, that one thing I see and I hear here is that, the RP in the background is real producers, but it could be also real professionals. And what I'm hearing is that during COVID times here in 2020, everybody's had to step up that professional approach to the business. And I saw that we have 24 property managers. And I saw that across the board with the rent control laws coming in and the COVID eviction laws, which were changing like every month, and the interpretation was changing. They had to knuckle down and really understand to help guide their owners and the tenants on what the do's and don'ts are. So I saw a significant increase in the level of professional attributes that needed to be implemented in 2020 that was accelerated like I never anticipated. So same kind of thing. We're in a different world in terms of home management rather than sales, but it goes hand in hand with the professionalism that goes along with that. So I support what you're saying.
Along those same lines, Kristen and Lisa, I think you guys are both spot on though. Staying up to date like almost every day, because we all have seen how quickly things are changing with the market, with rules, with regulations. And so staying up to date and knowing what you're talking about and educating your clients. Like, I feel like I've taken a very educational stance with a lot of my clients, because they're hearing, with the internet and just they can get so much information, right? So making sure that they're hearing the right information and both sides of it. Here's your risks and here's the pros, like pros and cons to everything, making sure they understand both sides of literally every decision we make has been key for us. And they feel very protected. They feel like we're on their side, which, we are. We want them to feel that. So educating them, and honestly, just educating myself every morning, just kind of trying to see what's changed, what's different, what are we doing now? And then passing that information along to our buyers, right? And our sellers as things are changing.
I think a large part of our job too, in addition to the things that you mentioned, is knowing what the inventory is. And so if there's an area that a buyer thinks that they're targeting, because that's their affordability or proximity to work, but now they're working from home. We can open up their parameters if you have an understanding of the different areas, the different regions, the different price points for each area, what your buying power, how far it will go, how long those homes are staying on the market. Then you can use also those tools to empower your buyers. So maybe they had focused areas and you can now expand their territories because you've offered your expertise in geographically to our region. And because we are getting such a huge influx of buyers from other regions now that we're all working from home, the home space has become extraordinarily important, that we have places for our kids to learn, that we have places for ourselves to work. And I don't expect that that will change in the immediate future. So homes have become everything for everybody, and home is now limitless because we're all working from it. Well, most of the world, not us, because we're out showing properties. So I think important aspects also bring to your tool bag is geography, know the area, know the inventory, know the price points, know how many homes are listed for sale, how many are going into pending, and how fast. And that way you can bring all of that information along with all of the other stuff that we talk about in terms of interest rates and scarcity of supply to your buyers and help them make the best decisions. Because maybe we may not be able to find something in the downtown, midtown, but maybe we can go to some of the periphery areas that will still serve you in terms of what you like to be close to.
I agree with everybody. All the comments are exactly what I agree with as well. Education is key. Setting expectations with your buyer or your client is very key as well. Not leading them down the wrong path. I see a lot of contracts where they're waiving the appraisal contingency, the inspection contingency. I mean, that's highly dangerous because, you know, we as professionals have to guide them in a certain light. If they waive their inspection contingency and it turns out that the foundation, if there's something wrong with the foundation and they have a $20,000 deposit, you know, who are they going to go after? They're going to go after the advice they got from their realtor. So I think obviously setting expectations, maybe that is not the right type of property, but getting them towards and having a lot of patience and making sure that we get them to that right spot, getting them that right home. And then of course they'll come back to you in the future when they're ready to sell again and purchase again. So I think with 2020, it has taught us to be patient, you know, look for the very best way to service our clients and adjust and adapt. And that's all we got to do. And I think 2021 is going to be a great year. I think it's going to be reflection. I don't think this is a bubble. This is not a bubble, especially with all the Bay Area buyers, like everybody says. It's going to carry through. Other parts of the country may be a bubble, but here I think we're going to be solid.
Well, Mike, I was looking at the stats, and they were saying that in 2008, when we had the bubble, we had 1.6 million people residing in the Sacramento region. And then 10 years later, in 2018, we had 2.2 million people. So, and then we follow the stats as far as how many homes close escrow every month, because that's, you know, our opportunity for market share. How many homes are being inspected versus how many homes closed escrow. And the amount of homes closed in escrow isn't really going up because there's not more homes, as Lisa was saying earlier. And so that's really important. And then as Laura, as you said, our homes have become really important. You know, you didn't mention, now we have to stay home to eat. We can't go out anymore, or not as much. And for somebody like me that's heavily involved in church, I'm used to going out to lunches, to coffees, to, you know, talk to people and things. I've been having to invite them to my house. If somebody having family issues or whatever the thing is, our house has become more than just a home we're used to. And then we've had to make a lot of changes to, Mike, what you said. Those contingency periods are so short now. You know, people that hire us to do an inspection on a Friday want their report on a Saturday, you know, and that becomes really like a bottleneck. So we've had to open up a Saturday, like we have people coming in on Saturdays. So if our inspectors did a report on Friday, we're sending it out on Saturday so you guys can make your decisions the next day. And had to hire more help and had to, you know, just make it happen because it's just, no one wants to wait for a report for 2 days. It's got to be there with a half a day. So yeah, it's definitely a different market and we're all adapting to it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've talked to a lot of you all when I get to interview you that has been a positive thing for real estate, and I think why maybe you've seen so much growth of businesses. This is such a crazy time and crazy market that clients, you know, there may have been this narrative leading up before 2020 of like, oh, you can automate your home sale, you can do it yourself, you can, you know, it's such an easy process. And I think nobody thinks that anymore. Everybody's like, where is my trusted real estate agent that can kind of guide me through this and actually protect me and answer questions that I don't know what I'm doing? And there is so much needed professionalism in the transaction now because things are changing so much. And so I've heard that from a lot of you. And I think that only serves to prove that the real estate agent, the one that is educated, the one that knows what they're doing and is professional, is an incredibly needed thing in the transaction of selling houses. So I think that's pretty cool. Do you guys feel like, I'm just curious, do you feel like there have been, well, I think there have been massive changes in how you actually market, show a house right now, because there's so many more precautions in place, right? In order to be able to show a house. I've heard that, you know, some of the visual aids, the 3D Matterport, all of that has heightened in need as far as showing off property. There's a lot of, I don't know, is all of that going to be kind of a change and a shift in how moving forward and forevermore you market and show houses? Or do you feel like that was like a correction for the time, but it's going to go back to the good old fashioned open houses and things like that? What are your thoughts?
I personally think that open houses will come back, but something that I've seen a huge change in is combining the like COVID restrictions with the fact that there are probably 80 to 100 buyers for every single house that comes on the market. The showing like setup process has been a real challenge. I don't know if you guys are feeling this or seeing this, but you know, we're scheduling in 15-minute increments. Usually you show up to a house and you're waiting outside with 2 or 3 or 4 other agents and buyers. So something that's been helpful for us is honestly just, again, going back to patience and trying to be nice. Sometimes you run into people that are not super friendly. We're all dealing with the same thing, right? We're all dealing with this like chaotic Tetris of trying to show 7 homes alongside of 100 other buyers, and trying to schedule that accordingly, stay on schedule. You get to one showing, you're supposed to be at 1:30, you don't get in until 2 because there's 4 other families in front of you. So honestly, just trying to be like nice. And I know like the golden rule, treat people the way you want to be treated, has been big for us. And I mean, it's frustrating and scary for buyers too. I think sometimes when you're with them and you're showing up at a house and there's 12 other families waiting outside, again, they're feeling intimidated. So just trying to stay calm and patient and kind with the people around you and just let everybody know, you know, like we're all kind of in this together. I think that part of it will stay. And I think that will stay until this market, you know, shifts out of this supply and demand drive that we're seeing. So we may not have to wear masks and stop the Saturday open houses for very much longer, hopefully. But the other side of it, I think you're going to see showings every 15 minutes and backed up in front of you and behind you. I think that's something that is here to stay for a little while.
Well, and Jamie, to your point, I don't know if any of you guys had used showing time previous to the pandemic. I hadn't on any of my listings, and I've started using it now, and I've been really happy with it. It's made a lot of that scheduling so much easier. So I was happy that was a feature that launched with MetroList.
Agree. Yeah, I just started as well.
Yeah, it's been great. And I totally agree with you. We should help each other out when we get to the house and there's a long line of people. Like I've been trying to work with the other agents, like maybe you start in the back, we'll start inside, then we'll switch. And it's really just kind of changed the tone of, you know, the rapport between agents while everyone's waiting in this line. So I think that'll continue.
I think the 3D Matterport is going to be here to stay, especially in luxury real estate. I mean, it has been there before. I think with the COVID, that was a key marketing tool to be able to sell in 2020. And I think that's still going to carry over, and not so much today because there's a lack of inventory and there's 20, like, as everybody said, you know, 5 to 15 families waiting in line to see a house and 75 showings in a weekend. So it is a good tool. I think it's going to be a tool to stay, not necessarily a tool that may be needed because by the amount of activity, the amount of buyers with the lack of less than 1 month supply of inventory here in the Sacramento region. I mean, you will have it, but it's really not a huge necessity because the buyers are going to be out there anyway. And of course, open houses are key in our industry. And I think once COVID is over, I mean, we're already doing COVID open houses, but once it really truly is over, I mean, I think it's going to be exactly where we left off.
Well, I want to open it up just to questions between you guys and maybe our different industries represented here. Either you all can ask our agents questions about how you can better come alongside them and support them in your different or serve their clients, or vice versa. Realtors, if you have questions that you think your clients would find valuable and helpful information for you to pass on from any of them. Just wanted to kind of open that up before we wrap up.
I have a question for Robert. Do you see more investors selling their properties because of all the rental restrictions, all of the COVID restrictions, or do you see more investors entering the marketplace because it's a great time to buy because interest rates are low, it's a great long-term hold? I mean, what are you seeing, Robert?
That's a good question, Mike. Very good question. And I see it shifting a little bit over the last 12 to 15 months. I think the shift of the investor interest in our market, some of it from the Bay Area, of course, for rental homes to acquire, was in the latter part of 2019 and the first part of 2020. Lately, though, because of the restrictions and all of the new laws and the rent controls, including the eviction scenarios, have really started now. We're getting more questions by our owners or more statements by our owners saying, I think it's time maybe I get out of the rental market business. So I think there will be a shift in 2021 and 2022 to maybe some of the more homes going on the market, which I think will open up the door for more owner occupieds and less rental homes if you take a look at the micro inventory. So does that answer your question?
It does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with prices where they are, it makes it a lot tougher to have a cash flow situation, even though rents have gone up as well. I own a lot of rental properties and I bought one in 2020. But for the most part, it's really hard to find cash flow investments with the pricing as it is. I mean, it's got to be a dollars and cents return on investment. And if you're having to subsidize your monthly expenses, it makes no sense to buy rental properties. So.
And I think that'll be a pushback on potential new owners of investment properties for the first time, Lisa, as you said.
Yeah.
And at the same time, those that have owned it for 8-10 years and now seeing the positive cash flow, and they're maybe just saying to themselves, let me take the money out of that and put it to other uses or other types of properties, maybe even commercial, that they could look at and get that money growing again, if you will.
And I do think we will see some significant deals on commercial. So if commercial is something that people want to invest in, I mean, commercial that's a tough one with everybody working at home and not needing the commercial space. Commercial real estate is definitely taking a hit as far as values.
Yes. No, I've spent 30 years in the commercial world in Sacramento at the same time. And you're right, retail properties have taken a huge hit and there's some great opportunity. But again, whether it's office or retail, guess what? There's opportunity in these markets when this has happened. So you will see that out there and it'll happen, but it'll be a little slower pickup, if you will. You're right, Lisa.
I would say moving forward too into 2021, surround yourself with people that create confidence in a smooth transaction, because buyers and sellers are so anxious and there's so many unknowns about the process and appraisals are coming in less than value. Like I use North American, you've used North American for about 8 years now without fail. And they are a solid part of offering my buyers and my sellers confidence in the product they're either buying or selling. So as well as the other people that are on my team, making sure that nothing except confidence and information and education, they're surrounded with it. So you can't just rely on your own skill sets as a professional. You also have to have great team partners in every aspect of your career.
Laura, you got to give a negative thing. What can we improve on? What is the one thing that you don't like about North American Home Services?
Nothing.
Oh, geez.
I'm always, I love Dawn. I love all your, with James, now I use Manny. And so, I mean, you're always available and you try to make concessions. And so You always are very supporting during inspections. If there's something alarming, you don't freak out people. You always give everything in the right frequency and appropriate. And I'm always grateful for your expertise.
Laura, I'm gonna.
You didn't even preset them together.
I thought for sure Laura was going to say,
You guys.
over to your house for lunch.
I have a question for Andrew. So I just ran into a situation for the first time with VA financing that I was unaware of. With the lending limits kind of significantly raised for VA, we're seeing a lot more VA product even in a lot of our higher end homes. And I had always thought that it was required to have a Section 1 pest clearance for any VA transaction. And I had a recent home that was just under $900,000. And we knew that we had significant Section 1 work that was going to be done. And it was a multiple offer situation. So we were hesitant to accept a VA until I learned that there's a certification form that you don't actually have to have a Section 1 clearance. You just have to have a certification that a home is insect free. So as long as the Section 1 has nothing to do with bugs, you can get a termite company to certify on a form that was provided to me through VA, that basically and I guess this would be a question for North American as well. So it's a form that in conjunction with the pest report certified that the house has no active infestation of insects, and that sufficed the requirement for VA, which was a game changer. I mean, when sellers think, well, I've got to provide a full Section 1 clearance, and I know that I've got other buyers who aren't going to ask me for nitpicky dry rot stuff. I don't want to have to deal with this, so I don't want to accept a VA. Is that something that you're finding with this certification form is being completed and sufficient?
Well, so if the question is to me, because you asked North American also, funny enough, I learned about this form this year. And what's interesting about that is that I go to the VA Lender Conference every year. And with the government people, they've never told us about this form. So it popped up, another agent showed it to me. So I went to VA and they said, yes, this can work. However, what I have learned is not all lenders will accept it. And I think the reasons that some lenders may not accept it is because they're not aware of it and don't understand it. And so there was a new thing to me this year, but we have done a loan that way. There's also been relief because of COVID this year. The VA said that we are not required to have a clear pest inspection. However, the seller and agent representing the seller need to sign a document stating that they are unaware of any active infestation. And then the buyer has to sign a hold harmless, recognizing that it wasn't done. So that's the easier route. If you don't have to have a pest company come out, VA is allowing this. And there's a deadline on when that moratorium was put in place. I don't know when that will stop off the top of my head, but both of those are options right now under VA.
Okay, because I always like to encourage that if we can make that work for somebody who has served our country. And sellers do get very hesitant about wanting to accept a VA because they don't want to be on the hook for extra repairs that they may not have had to do for a conventional loan. And so I just felt like that was a huge eye opener because I was unaware of that. And it was actually the buyer's agent that brought me the form and showed me that this is a form that works. It worked with their lender. I then reached out to 3 of the lenders that I work with, and they all said, yes, that form works. So
it's also, there's another thing. So a few years ago, VA changed their rule also that the veteran buyer is allowed to pay for repairs also. It didn't used to be that way. So if something comes up, they can pay. And so, you know, then it's a protection. You want to pay for those repairs at closing, but that's certainly another option as well.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I was just going to jump in on there. We do a lot of these forms now. So you're exactly right, Lisa. Is just about a year ago they started accepting these forms where now you don't have to have a Section 1 clearance. We usually get form, and we just sign on there that we certify that there is no active infestation on the property. And as long as that's the case, they don't have to do all the repairs. And so that's, you know, kind of been the new VA thing.
Now, I want to back up here, though. Another issue could come up. So even if you have this form, if the appraiser is there and sees something that creates a health and safety issue, if they see dry rot, say there's dry rot in a deck or something like that, the appraiser could call out something and ask for something to be repaired to protect. So that in VA guidelines, the home has to be deemed safe, sound, and sanitary. And so that's another issue, but certainly somebody would see something if it's kind of dangerous. You know, if a rail's going to fall off of a deck because of dry rot or something of that nature, then that might be called out. You also could have, when the appraiser is in, you know, they might shake the commode and they're looking for other things that are water related that could lead to mold issues or something like that. So that's something that's a different animal if the appraiser sees it.
Where does this certification form come from? Is that something the lender can provide or from the pest inspector?
It's from the pest inspector. I think I have a copy of one, but it's not a blank one.
Yeah, we have blank copies. If you need blank copies, you can always reach out to us. We got them from lenders, but we can always keep a spare one. Fill in the address and then just, you know, mark off there's no termites, there's no beetles actively chewing on the home. And that usually works.
Great.
Awesome. Okay, you guys, we are nearing the end of our hour. So we are going to wrap up here. Thank you all for just bringing yourselves to this space and sharing your wisdom and questions. I think it just makes everybody better. So the way this is going to work, we're going to start here. Remember whose name you are after, because we're going to go in a quick order and there's no explanation to these answers. I'm just going to ask you a quick question. You're going to say the first thing that comes to mind and we're just going to keep going through. I promise there's nothing incriminating that I'm going to ask you. So we're going to start in the reverse order of you as you introduced yourself. So Andrew, and then we're going to go to North American. Dimitri and Jen, you guys can pop one after the other. Then Jen, wait, not Jen, Jamie, sorry, I'm reading names here. And then Lisa, and then Kristen, and then Mike, and then Bob, and then Laura, and then we'll go back to Andrew. So do you have who you're after? Does everybody give me a thumbs up if you know who you're after?
Wait, who was last? Because I guess I got to do it again.
Yeah, you're after, well, you'll hear the next question from me,
Okay.
Andrew. So you get the least amount of time to think about it, and I
Great.
picked on you on purpose, so.
Great.
All right. So again, we're just going to go round robin style. And the first question I have for you is, are you a night owl or an early bird?
I am early.
We're going to Dimitri and Jen now. Unmute yourself. Everybody can just pop in. We're going super fast.
Early bird.
I'm a night owl.
Early bird.
Early bird.
Early bird.
Early bird.
Bird.
Night owl.
Awesome. All right. Dream vacation you have not yet taken.
Spain, Portugal, and the Azores.
Bad for me.
Oh, Italy.
Bora Bora.
Greece.
I am also Greece.
I want to go to the Maldives island.
I'll do Spain.
Maldives, because somebody at North American told me that's where I should go. The pest
All right.
inspector that I had last week, that you should go to Maldives.
That's awesome. Favorite form of exercise?
I guess my walks.
Circuit training.
Wait.
Probably weights.
Cycling.
Running.
Swimming.
Golf, walking.
Yoga.
I had somebody last time say, can I say none? None?
Sleeping.
Yeah, seriously. Sweet or salty?
Ooh.
Sweet, although it's not best for my workouts.
Sweet for me.
Sweet and salty at the same time.
Same, sweet and salty together.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Sweet and salty.
Sweet.
Awesome. All right, last one. You're going to have to channel way back to your teenager days. Favorite show as a kid or teenager?
Gilligan's Island.
Saved by the Bell.
We did not have a TV at home, did not watch any shows.
That's awesome.
Boy Meets World.
Family Ties.
Facts of Life.
I like Married with Children.
I go way back to Leave It with Beaver.
Oh.
The Love Boat.
I love it. We get all the different, times and genres represented here. That is perfect. All right. Thank you guys so much for hopping on here. That is all that we have for today. And I'm going to sign off now. So give me a wave and we will see you all
Bye.
around later.